October 28, 1942. In a secluded testing ground near Kummersdorf, 40 kilometers south of Berlin, the autumn mist lingered over the fallen leaves as Hauptmann Friedrich Müller stood amid a circle of Germany's finest weapons engineers. Before them lay a strange, tube-like device captured from American forces in Tunisia, an object that would soon challenge everything they believed about their technological supremacy. The engineers, confident in German engineering excellence, expected to find little of value in this crude American weapon, unaware that this simple tube would soon force them to confront an uncomfortable reality about the war's trajectory. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. This is the story of how a single captured weapon became the catalyst for a profound psychological transformation within Germany's scientific community, revealing the widening gulf between Nazi propaganda and the harsh industrial realities that would ultimately determine the outcome of the Second World War. Gentlemen, what we have before us is the latest American anti-tank weapon, designated as the Bazooka by our intelligence services, Hauptmann Müller announced, gesturing toward the olive-green tube resting on a wooden table. The Führer himself has ordered a complete analysis. Our task is to determine its capabilities and, if necessary, develop countermeasures. Dr. Klaus Werner, head of the Kummersdorf Weapons Testing Division, adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses and leaned forward to examine the device. At 52 years of age, Werner had overseen the development of numerous weapons systems that had helped fuel the early Blitzkrieg victories. His reputation within the Reich was sterling, a brilliant mind fully dedicated to German technological dominance. "It looks remarkably primitive," Werner observed, running his fingers along the tubular launcher. "Crude manufacturing, simplistic design, nothing like our precision engineering." Beside him, 34-year-old Dr. Eva Brandt, one of the few female engineers permitted to work on such classified projects due to her exceptional expertise in metallurgy, studied the weapon more carefully. "Perhaps, but simplicity can be advantageous in field conditions. Let's reserve judgment until after testing." The third key figure in the room, Oberst Heinrich Vogel from Wehrmacht Ordnance, frowned deeply. A decorated veteran of the Polish campaign and a true believer in German superiority, Vogel represented the military perspective. "American industry is built on mass production, not quality. Whatever this weapon can do, our Panzerfaust will surely outperform it once development is complete." What none of these experts yet realized was that this encounter would initiate a journey forcing them to confront not just a new weapon, but the fundamental industrial and philosophical differences that would ultimately determine the war's outcome. The testing team established a protocol to evaluate the captured weapon. They would first examine its construction, then analyze its ammunition, followed by controlled firing tests against various targets, including a captured Soviet T-34 tank hull and German armor plating of different specifications. Dr. Werner carefully disassembled the bazooka, documenting every component. The manufacturing is indeed basic, but intentionally so. Notice how many parts could be produced with minimal machining. The electrical firing system is surprisingly reliable despite its simplicity. Eva Brandt weighed one of the rocket projectiles. The propulsion system is quite clever. It uses the rocket's own exhaust, vented through these ports at the rear, to propel itself. No recoil for the operator. Brilliant in its simplicity, actually. Oberst Vogel remained unimpressed. But what of its penetration capability? That is all that matters in the field. The next morning, the team assembled at the Kummersdorf firing range. A cold wind swept across the testing grounds as technicians prepared the targets. Dr. Werner had insisted on handling the bazooka himself for the initial tests, his scientific curiosity overcoming his initial dismissiveness. Werner aimed at a concrete bunker 300 meters away, following the translated American manual they had recovered with the weapon. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The rocket launched with a distinctive whooshing sound, leaving a trail of smoke as it streaked toward the target. The impact was immediate and dramatic, a direct hit that left a sizable crater in the reinforced concrete. "Impressive range and accuracy for such a simple device," Werner admitted, his voice betraying a hint of surprise. "Let's try the armor tests." The team moved to the next testing area where sections of armor plating had been arranged at various angles. The first test involved a plate equivalent to that used on the Panzer III, Germany's backbone medium tank through the early war years. Werner aimed and fired again. The rocket struck the armor plate and penetrated it completely, creating a clean hole surrounded by spalling damage that would have been devastating to any crew inside an actual tank. Oberst Vogel's expression darkened. A lucky shot, perhaps. Try the angled plate. The next target featured armor set at a 30-degree angle, the standard deflection angle used to increase effective armor thickness on German tanks. Again, Werner took aim and fired. This time, while the rocket did not penetrate completely, it caused significant damage that would have disabled most armored vehicles. By midday, the mood among the testing team had shifted notably. What began as dismissive curiosity had evolved into growing concern. Eva Brandt meticulously recorded the test results, her scientific objectivity unable to dismiss what she was witnessing. "The penetration capabilities exceed our initial estimates," she reported. "Most concerning is how easily this weapon can be transported and operated by a two-man team. It gives infantry a credible anti-tank capability at a range of up to 150 meters. Oberst Vogel paced the testing ground, his boots crunching on the gravel. "How many of these weapons do our intelligence services believe the Americans possess?" Hauptmann Müller consulted his briefing documents. "Reports indicate mass production began in June of this year. Conservative estimates suggest thousands are already in production, with deployment accelerating on multiple fronts." "Thousands?" Vogel stopped pacing. "Our factories would need months, perhaps years, to produce comparable numbers of specialized weapons." That evening, the team gathered in the research facility's conference room to compile their initial findings. The room was austere, a large wooden table surrounded by straight-backed chairs, walls adorned only with technical diagrams and a portrait of Hitler overseeing their work. The atmosphere was tense as the implications of their testing became impossible to ignore. Dr. Werner spread out the test results on the table. The weapon demonstrates effective armor penetration up to 80 millimeters at optimal angles. Its mobility and ease of use make it a significant threat to our armored divisions. Eva Brandt added her metallurgical analysis. The projectile utilizes a shaped charge warhead, not a new concept, but implemented effectively and inexpensively. More concerning is the material composition. Despite wartime shortages, there's no evidence of material substitution or quality compromise. Oberst Vogel's military perspective had begun to shift from dismissiveness to strategic concern. If American infantry units are widely equipped with these weapons, our tank commanders will need to revise their tactics completely. The days of tanks operating without significant infantry support may be ending. "There's something else," Müller interjected, "something that goes beyond this specific weapon." He hesitated, aware that his next words might border on defeatism, a dangerous sentiment in the Third Reich. "It's what this weapon represents about American industrial capacity." The room fell silent. They all understood his meaning, though none wished to be the first to acknowledge it. The bazooka represented not just a new tactical challenge, but a strategic revelation about the fundamental contest between German and American production philosophies. Dr. Werner finally broke the silence. "We must expand our testing. Tomorrow, let's evaluate the weapon's effectiveness against our latest armor specifications and compare it directly with our own anti-tank weapons." The comparative testing the following day only deepened their concerns. While Germany's Panzerfaust, still in development, showed promising armor penetration capabilities, it had significant limitations in range and accuracy compared to the American bazooka. More troubling were the production implications. Each component of the bazooka showed evidence of mass production techniques, interchangeable parts, simplified manufacturing processes, and material choices that prioritized speed of production over craftsmanship. That evening, Dr. Werner made a decision that would prove fateful for his team and for his own understanding of the war. Rather than focusing solely on the weapon's technical specifications, he requested comprehensive intelligence on American production capacity. 3 days later, the team reconvened with representatives from military intelligence present. The conference room now featured additional maps and charts, displaying American industrial output across various sectors. The numbers were staggering, even accounting for potential intelligence exaggeration. American factories are currently producing more than 25,000 aircraft annually, explained Major Schmidt from intelligence. Tank production exceeds 20,000 units per year. Their shipyards are launching a new Liberty ship almost daily. Oberst Vogel stared at the production figures. These numbers cannot be accurate. They are conservative estimates, Major Schmidt replied. Multiple intelligence sources confirm the scale. While we struggle with material shortages and precision manufacturing, the Americans have embraced standardization and simplification. What their products lack in refinement, they make up for in sheer quantity. Dr. Werner studied the production charts with growing unease. And this bazooka, what are the production figures? Current intelligence suggests production capacity of 16,000 units monthly, Schmidt answered. They've simplified the design twice already to increase output. Eva Brandt calculated quickly. That's nearly 200,000 units annually. We couldn't match even 10% of that production with our current manufacturing approach. The meeting concluded with a somber agreement to prepare a comprehensive report for High Command. As the others filed out, Dr. Werner remained behind, staring at the production figures. For the first time, he allowed himself to consider a possibility that would have been unthinkable a week earlier, that Germany's emphasis on engineering perfection might prove its undoing against American industrial might. The next phase of testing brought the team to the tank proving grounds. A captured American Sherman tank was positioned alongside a German Panzer IV to compare armor vulnerability to various weapons. Though the Sherman's armor was not notably superior to German designs, its standardized production and mechanical reliability told another story about American manufacturing philosophy. Lieutenant Carl Schmidt, a tank commander recently returned from the Eastern Front, had been invited to provide operational perspective. His experience with the realities of combat maintenance offered a stark contrast to the theoretical discussions of the engineers. The most valuable tank is the one that keeps running, Schmidt explained as he walked around the Sherman. On the Eastern Front, we lose as many vehicles to mechanical failure as to enemy action. Our tanks are magnificent when they work, but field repairs are complex and parts availability is inconsistent at best. Dr. Werner ran his hand along the Sherman's hull. And the American tanks? Crude but effective, Schmidt replied. Their crews can perform most repairs themselves with basic tools. Parts are interchangeable not just within the same tank model, but often across different vehicles. It's not elegant engineering, but in war, such practicality has distinct advantages. This perspective added another dimension to their evaluation. German engineering excellence, long considered a fundamental advantage, suddenly appeared as a potential liability when faced with the realities of sustained global conflict. The testing continued throughout the week. Each day brought new revelations as the team expanded their analysis beyond the bazooka to what it represented about the broader industrial contest. They examined captured American equipment of all types, from field radios to boots, from medical kits to aircraft parts. A pattern emerged that was impossible to ignore. American equipment consistently prioritized ease of production, simplicity of design, and interchangeability of parts. German equipment, by contrast, reflected an engineering culture that valued precision, performance optimization, and craftsman-like quality, virtues in peacetime that became hindrances in the face of global war production demands. By the 10th day of testing, the psychological impact on the team had become evident. What began as a straightforward weapons evaluation had evolved into a fundamental reassessment of Germany's capacity to win a prolonged conflict. During the evening briefing session, Eva Brandt presented her analysis of material composition across various American equipment. They're standardizing alloys to maximize production efficiency, even when specialized materials might offer marginally better performance. It's an approach our industries have resisted, but the strategic advantages are becoming clear. Dr. Werner nodded gravely. It's not just materials. Their entire industrial philosophy differs fundamentally from ours. We design the perfect weapon and then determine how to manufacture it. They design for manufacturing from the outset, accepting performance compromises to ensure volume production. Oberst Vogel, whose initial dismissiveness had given way to grim recognition, added, "Our soldiers are told that German equipment is superior. That one Tiger tank equals 5 Shermans. Perhaps that's true in a direct comparison, but what if they produce 10 Shermans for every Tiger? Quality has a quantity all its own." The phrase hung in the air, challenging their most basic assumptions about Germany's path to victory. That night, Dr. Werner couldn't sleep. He paced his quarters at the research facility, mind racing with implications that extended far beyond a single captured weapon. The bazooka had become a window into a broader truth about the nature of modern industrialized warfare, one that contradicted the prevailing narratives within the Reich. By morning, he had made a decision. Their report would need to address not just the technical specifications of the bazooka, but its broader implications for Germany's war effort. It was a dangerous path, one that might be interpreted as defeatism, but his scientific integrity demanded nothing less. The team gathered one final time to complete their assessment. The atmosphere was tense as Werner outlined his proposed approach. "Our technical evaluation of the bazooka is complete," he began. "It is an effective weapon, though not without limitations. But restricting our report to technical specifications would be a disservice to the Reich. We must address the broader implications, specifically how this weapon exemplifies the American approach to war production and what that means for our strategic position." Oberst Vogel shifted uncomfortably. "Such analysis ventures into political territory, Doctor. Our task is technical assessment, not strategic re-evaluation." "The two cannot be separated," Werner insisted. "If we ignore the production disparity, we provide an incomplete picture that may lead to flawed strategic decisions." Eva Brandt supported Werner's position. "The scientific facts compel this conclusion. The bazooka itself is merely a symptom of a more fundamental challenge we face." After heated debate, the team reached a compromise. Their official report would focus on the technical assessment and immediate countermeasures, while a separate, confidential appendix would address the broader industrial implications for select senior officials. Werner drafted this appendix himself, working through the night to articulate the uncomfortable truths they had discovered. He wrote of the fundamentally different industrial philosophies between Germany and the United States, the implications of standardization versus customization, and the stark mathematics of production disparity. While German engineering excellence remains unmatched in terms of design sophistication, he wrote, "The evidence suggests that American production methodology may prove more suitable for sustained global conflict. Their approach sacrifices optimal performance for production volume, a trade-off that, given sufficient time, may prove strategically decisive regardless of tactical excellence." He concluded with a recommendation that would have been unthinkable weeks earlier, that Germany should consider adopting elements of American production philosophy, sacrificing some engineering perfectionism in favor of standardization and simplified manufacturing. On November 18, 1942, the final report was delivered to Wehrmacht High Command. The team disbanded, returning to their respective roles, forever changed by what they had learned. For Dr. Werner, the transformation was particularly profound. His lifelong belief in German engineering superiority had not been abandoned, but it had been contextualized within a larger understanding of industrial warfare. 3 weeks later, Werner received a response to his report. The technical assessments had been well received, resulting in accelerated development of defensive measures against the bazooka. The confidential appendix, however, had reached Albert Speer, the Reich Minister of Armaments and War Production. To Werner's surprise, Speer requested his presence in Berlin for a private consultation. The minister had been advocating for rationalization of German industry since taking office, often facing resistance from both military traditionalists and engineering purists. Their meeting took place in Speer's austere office overlooking the ministry gardens. Despite the winter chill outside, the room was uncomfortably warm. Coal shortages had not yet affected the highest levels of government. "Your report was most illuminating, Dr. Werner," Speer began after pleasantries were exchanged, "particularly your observations on American production methodology." Werner remained cautious. "Thank you, Minister. I simply reported what the evidence suggested." "Evidence that supports positions I have advocated since taking this office," Speer continued. "Our devotion to engineering excellence serves us well in many contexts, but war production demands different priorities." For the next hour, they discussed the implications of the bazooka testing and the broader lessons about industrial capacity. Speer revealed that similar conclusions had been reached by other assessment teams examining various aspects of Allied production. "The Americans build a Liberty ship in under 2 weeks," Speer explained. "A comparable German vessel requires 7 months. Their aircraft factories produce a new plane every hour. Tank production shows similar disparities. While our Tiger is indeed superior to the Sherman in combat performance, they can replace losses at a rate we cannot hope to match." By meeting's end, Werner understood that his report would contribute to Speer's ongoing efforts to rationalize German industry, an effort that faced significant cultural and organizational resistance. The minister's parting words would stay with Werner long after. "We Germans must learn that perfection can become the enemy of sufficiency. This war will not be won by having the best weapons, but by having enough good weapons. Your bazooka revelation may help others understand what some of us already recognize, that we are engaged not just in a military contest, but an industrial one. And in that arena, I fear we began at a disadvantage we may never overcome." The story of the Kummersdorf bazooka tests might have ended there, a minor historical footnote in the vast tragedy of the Second World War, but its impact continued through the lives it touched and the changes it initiated. For Eva Brandt, the experience prompted a re-evaluation of German manufacturing processes in her field of metallurgy. She subsequently developed simplified alloys that reduced production time for armor plating by 30%, while maintaining 85% of performance characteristics, an approach that would have been considered heretical before her encounter with American production philosophy. Oberst Vogel returned to the Eastern Front with a transformed perspective on equipment maintenance and standardization. His insistence on simplified field repair procedures saved numerous vehicles that might otherwise have been abandoned. Though never publicly acknowledging the source of his insights, his after-action reports frequently emphasized the value of standardization and simplicity, concepts directly informed by the bazooka evaluation. As for Dr. Klaus Werner, his journey of realization continued. In early 1943, he was assigned to evaluate production methods across multiple German armaments factories. What he witnessed only confirmed the patterns first recognized during the bazooka testing. Countless instances where the pursuit of engineering perfection created bottlenecks that limited production quantity. In one aircraft factory, he documented how German machinists hand-filed parts to tolerances far exceeding operational requirements, while in an American factory, those same components would be mass-produced to adequate but less precise specifications. The German approach produced superior individual parts, but at a production rate 1/15 that of American factories. By mid-1943, the evidence of America's industrial advantage became impossible to ignore, even for the most ardent believers in German technological superiority. Allied bombing campaigns intensified, targeting precisely the specialized factories whose craftsmanship Germany relied upon. Each destroyed facility represented production capacity that could not be quickly replaced. In April 1944, Werner received permission to establish an experimental production line implementing American-style mass production techniques for a simplified version of the Panzerfaust anti-tank weapon. The results were striking, a 300% increase in production rate with minimal impact on field effectiveness. Despite such successes, the broader cultural and organizational changes required came too late. Germany's industrial base continued to emphasize quality over quantity, even as strategic circumstances increasingly favored the latter. The bazooka's lesson, that industrial philosophy could matter more than engineering excellence, remained incompletely learned. By January 1945, Dr. Werner found himself reassigned to a research facility in Bavaria, far from the advancing Allied forces. There, surrounded by ever-dwindling resources, he continued refining production methods for weapons that would never reach the front in sufficient numbers. In his private journal found years after the war, Werner reflected on the journey that began with a simple captured weapon. The bazooka was not remarkable for its technology, but for what it revealed about our opponents. While we Germans pursued engineering perfection, the Americans pursued sufficiency at scale. History may judge which approach better served the needs of global conflict. I fear I already know the answer. The final entry, dated April 20th, 1945, reads simply, "The war is lost, not on the battlefield alone, but in the factories. The lesson of the bazooka came too late." Werner survived the war and, after a brief period in Allied custody, eventually joined the post-war reconstruction efforts. His experience with the bazooka testing and its implications for industrial methodology influenced his approach to rebuilding German manufacturing, emphasizing a balance between traditional German precision and the mass production techniques he had come to respect. In a lecture at the Technical University of Munich in 1956, Werner made his only public reference to the bazooka testing experience. Germany's post-war economic miracle rests on our ability to combine our traditional engineering excellence with the production efficiency pioneered elsewhere. This balance was a lesson hard-learned. Sometimes the most profound insights come from unexpected sources, even from a simple weapon that, at first glance, appeared crude and unimpressive. The legacy of the Kummersdorf bazooka tests extends beyond individual stories. It exemplifies a broader truth about modern conflict, that wars between industrialized nations are ultimately decided not just by tactical brilliance or even technological superiority, but by productive capacity and industrial philosophy. The humble bazooka, with its simple design and emphasis on manufacturability, represented an approach to warfare that prioritized sufficiency at scale over perfection in limited quantities. For the German scientists and engineers who first examined it with dismissive curiosity, it became a window into a different worldview, one that would ultimately prove decisive in the global conflict. The contrast between German and American approaches extends beyond weapons manufacturing to their fundamental national characters. German culture, with its emphasis on craftsmanship, precision, and specialized expertise, produced extraordinary technological achievements. American culture, with its pragmatism, standardization, and mass production, delivered overwhelming material advantage. In the crucible of global war, these different approaches were tested, and history rendered its judgment. Today, the most effective military and industrial organizations worldwide have learned to balance these approaches, combining precision engineering with production efficiency, specialized excellence with standardization, quality with quantity. This synthesis represents perhaps the most lasting legacy of the lessons learned from a simple tube that launched rockets, and in doing so, launched a profound reassessment of how modern wars are won and lost. And that concludes our story. If you made it this far, please share your thoughts in the comments. What part of this historical account surprised you most? Don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from World War II, and check out the video on screen for another incredible tale from history. Until next time.